Hey everyone, this is video number 3. Thank you for your feedback on the first video. We posted that last night or yesterday afternoon. Okay, let's jump right into the questions for video 3. The first one is from Duncan Spall 1. As the hash rate arms race unfolds between the publicly listed BTC miners, Argo's recent partnership with Core Scientific seems like a perfect springboard to take Argo forward quickly and cost effectively. Can we expect further expansion with Core Scientific and the new kit that they have on order? So our relationship with Core goes back a little while now, and they've been a really great host for us. They've built some great facilities. I think they would tell you that we have made them better as well, given some of the mining styles and capacities and techniques that we use. So I think there's been some real, synergy there between the two companies. In terms of, moving forward with them, obviously we're close to them. We talk to them, very on a daily, if not, or on a weekly, if not daily basis, because we have so many machines with them. That being said, I can't disclose, any conversations we may or may not be having with Core or anyone else about future rigs. But you can do the thinking for yourself. If you have a partner you're close to, it would make sense to continue to have conversations with them, as things progress. All right, thank you, Duncan. Next question, Bungles. Hi guys, keep up the good work. Okay, will do. Question, Argo is often compared to its mining peers who are valued significantly higher. Aside from increasing your mining capacity and the proposed OTC listing, what other steps could you take to stand equally shoulder to shoulder with your peers? So yeah, obviously you've named two of the things that we've been doing. The OTC listing, which came through this week, and I think it's gonna help kind of even things out, especially as more North Americans hear about us and as we work our communication strategy in the US and get out and speak with people, both on the retail side and on the institutional side. In terms of mining capacity, absolutely want to stay in the game, and you need to be relevant in terms of how much petahash you have compared to your peers. We're obviously in a really good place now, and expect to continue to be in a good place for 2021. In terms of other things that we're doing, one of the things we're doing is this, which is really trying to differentiate ourselves by being transparent. Not everyone believes that the cryptocurrency industry is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so I think you need to convince people that it is something that's real and something that has value. And that's certainly what I try to do when I speak to our existing shareholders, to potential shareholders, to media. There's skepticism out there about any new technologies. So communication is important. Transparency is important. We've been pretty open about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think that's something, again, that differentiates us. I think that, we also are very innovative. I've spoken, about our technology team and some of the mining techniques that we've used. If you look back a year and a half, we were, on top of a new project like Polkadot. We were early investors in that. We've just signed a deal with Luxor, who are, doing some really innovative things around mining pools. So I would expect, you to see more opportunities and more announcements like that in the future around innovation, around blockchain technology, around partnerships. Those are all things that we think that we can bring to the table that not necessarily everyone else in the space does. I would say, and this is a little bit tricky to kind of explain, but I would say that we're a cryptocurrency company that happens to be a publicly traded company. We were built by people who believe in cryptocurrency. Whereas I think some of the other companies, and I don't want to slag anyone, but I think some of the other companies are more public market companies, more capital market kind of guys who have gotten into cryptocurrency. And I think that's a difference. And I think that's why we're kind of built for the long term. We believe in crypto. We believe in Bitcoin. We believe in blockchain. We think this is the future of finance. It's the future of money. So we're thinking long term. I think you saw that in 2020 with our kind of smart growth strategy. We made some really, I don't want to kind of brag, but I think we made some really good decisions that got us to where we are right now. That was a long answer, probably my longest answer ever, but it was a good question. And there's similar questions in this group, in this category. So I might kind of point back to that question or that answer as I'm reading these other questions. Rick Bezos, at Bezos Rick. Assuming BTC continues to rise in 2021, you'll soon be asset rich. What's the strategic plan to turn ARB into a $1 billion market cap business like your peers in the US, who mine less, I believe? So again, I think when we're looking at, so many of the things I just said are relevant to that question. I would also say that, there's some external factors that are outside of our control that are going to affect, how asset rich we will be. One of those is obviously the price of Bitcoin. The other is the difficulty level, the mining difficulty level. And if you're not well versed in mining difficulty, I encourage you to go online and read about it, because it is something that affects our profitability level, affects our margin on a day-to-day basis, and it's something that we obviously keep a very close eye on, both on a real-time basis and on projections into the future. And so I think, those factors are kind of outside of our control, how much hash power there is on the network, those kind of things. In terms of the things that we can control, one is our asset management strategy. How much Bitcoin are we holding? And we've been very clear that we want to try to hold as much Bitcoin as we can, with a little bit of downside protection, so that if the market turns, we're protected. And then all of the other things I just outlined, around innovation, around partnerships, around smart growth. Those are all of the things that are going to take us to the next level as a company. And I feel like we're moving in that direction. We certainly have shareholders who believe in us and who have been vocal in suggesting ways in which we should move forward. And I appreciate both the support and the suggestions. Jazz Samra, what are the main catalysts for growth this year and over the next 3.5 years? Is there plans to get on board either in terms of investment, partnership with large tech organizations like Tesla, Amazon, Apple? What is your target capital size? So, Jazz, I don't think we're there yet to call up Tesla and say, hey, Elon, can you hook us up with some batteries for a facility XYZ? Maybe, in a year. I think this industry is moving so quickly that a year in other industries, or a year in crypto, is like 10 years in other industries. So a year from now, I think we might be able to start having those conversations with some of the big boys. But for now, we're not quite there yet. In terms of our target capital size, I think it depends, what market we're in. I think it depends what the price of Bitcoin is doing. I would see us, getting to a $1 billion market cap relatively soon, given what we've seen over the last 4 to 6 weeks. But it's for the market to decide at the end of the day, what we're valued at. And certainly the markets said we were valued more than we were last year in 2020. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Next question is from Tom Dixon at King Shrimper. Do you have a plan going forward as to how many Bitcoins you're going to keep? Maybe a percentage mined. Thanks. So we've spoken about this before. I've spoken about this before about how much of a hodl we should have. I think if you've been looking at our RNSs, if you've been looking at our monthly operational updates, you will have seen, Tom, that we're increasing our hodl on a month-to-month basis as much as possible. So we do have both a short, a medium, and a long-term strategy for asset management. And we also know that many of our shareholders invest in companies like us because we are your exposure to Bitcoin, and you want us to hold Bitcoin. So we understand that. So we try to hold as much as we can within reason of having kind of a downside projection. So we have a modeling system. We have a kind of cash flow system. We call it the super model, and everything kind of sits in there, and it shows on a week-to-week and month-to-month basis how much we should be selling, how much Bitcoin we should be selling, and how much Bitcoin we should be holding. Because obviously we need to sell some to cover our costs. If we're not, raising capital or having, funds coming in. This month, for instance, as many of you know, there was lots of options and warrants that were exercised. So there was a bump in cash flow that was kind of unexpected, and so we, that would have had an impact on how much Bitcoin we may or may not have sold. Good question though. Liam Duggan, at Liam Duggan 1981. Are there any plans to enhance wider use of blockchain and diversifying the business? So I think I've referenced this before in other answers, but absolutely. But we look at ourselves as a blockchain technology company that has mining as our primary source of revenue. We're really good at mining. It's a focus of ours. We've been doing it for a while. We know how to do it, I think, as good as anyone. In terms of other technologies, absolutely. Exploring, always looking at other projects, exploring other opportunities in the space. So when those, when there's something concrete in any of those areas, we'll let you know. But for sure, we look at ourselves as something beyond just a cryptocurrency miner. Not that there's anything wrong with people who just mine cryptocurrency, but we do look at ourselves as like I said, a blockchain technology company. James Robinson at RobinWho28. Can I have a Bitcoin, please, Peter? Thanks. James, you may not have a Bitcoin. The 2013 version of me would have said, absolutely, here's a Bitcoin, James. And I have been interacting with Bitcoin for a while and have had, some come and go that I would have liked to have held. Maybe my personal hodling strategy wasn't as strong as it should have been back then. But James, we certainly know how precious Bitcoin is. We think that it's an asset that's going to continue to appreciate in value, and so we try to hold as much as we can. Okay, Richie S at Richie S111. 2 questions. If BTC crashed, what level would it need to fall for you to be no longer in profit? Question 2, do you have any plans for how you would survive such a fall in the short to medium term? Example, holding reserves to cover fixed costs until a price recovery materialized. So the answer to question number 1 is constantly evolving. It's obviously, the price of Bitcoin is the main factor, but then there's overall hash rate, the overall network hash rate. There's the BTC network difficulty. Both of those things have a big impact on what that number is. I can tell you now we're way above it, given the events of the last month. There's times when we've been closer to it. We've never been at a time where we've had to mine at a loss in the 3 years of the existence of the company. And it is something that we follow closely, but obviously when you're in a place, we just put out our margin for the first few or for the first 10 days of January in a recent RNS, and it was well over 70%. So you can, you have to think about it in the future, but when you're in a time like this, it's not a super concern. Now, if Bitcoin was to, crash by 50% overnight, obviously that would be a concern. There would also be, when that would happen, there would be a number of machines that would come offline that are much less efficient than we are. And so difficulty would drop should there be such a, and you saw it at the halving. Difficulty dropped in the halving of May of last year. So there is a kind of a balance between hash rate and price and difficulty, and they kind of tend to even each other out. But it is obviously something that people always want a number. What's your break-even number? It's not quite that simple. There's a lot of factors at play. Question 2 is, do you have any plans for how you would survive such a fall? Yeah, again, I said, I talked about our asset management strategy earlier. We're always trying to make sure we do have some cash in the bank for any kind of downside, more than just cash in the bank, but we have some cash reserves for any kind of downside turns until a price recovery materialized, or until difficulty balanced out and we would return to profitability. Olivier de Kaiser, how do you compare yourself with the competition, Marathon, Riot, Hay, etc.? Is a roadmap or strategy for 2021? I think I've already talked about a kind of strategy for 2021 in this video and in other videos, so I'm going to leave that one for now. But in terms of how we compare ourselves with the other miners, and I kind of again answered this a little bit earlier as well. Look, it's an interesting space right now. These other publicly traded miners, many of whom I know the CEOs or have a relationship with the CEOs of, they're all doing interesting things. We're all slightly different. We're all taking different paths and strategies. The NASDAQ listed guys obviously have had an incredible second half of 2020 in terms of being able to raise money and have some cash in the bank. Great for them. To me, it comes down to one thing, and that is there's announcements and there's execution. I think our company in the last 3 years has put a focus on execution, specifically in 2020. I think we executed really, really well. So that's where we put our our emphasis on. That's what, we have built the company around, which is making sure that we do what we say and say what we do. So I can't comment on who else is good at execution and who may or may not be, but really that's, to me, the differentiator for us is that we are excellent executors. All right, last question from Doctor of Diversity at Tell the Nation 1. Now, this is the most important question of all. Do you intend to mine your own currency in the future? I would like to now offer you guys, for 5% of all transactions in the future, the use of my name to promote your new currency, quote, the Diversity Fund. No, you're welcome. Thank you, Doctor of Diversity. I have noticed you're very active on Twitter and have commented on a lot of our stuff. I appreciate it. We do not intend to mine or create our own cryptocurrency to mine in the future. Like I said, lots of interesting projects potentially in the pipeline from us that we'll announce if and when they are announceable. But we appreciate the offer, and everyone, we appreciate all the questions and all the feedback. And we have one more video after this. I initially said there was going to be 5. There's only going to be 4. We were able to condense it all into 4. So one more video. Thanks a lot for your questions.